The earth answered Lyra's rage. It started as a tremor, barely noticeable, a shiver in the ground beneath the holding cell. Then it grew, rippling outward in waves that made the iron bars rattle and sing. Above ground, guards stumbled, reaching for walls to steady themselves. "What's happening?" one shouted. "Earthquake!" another yelled. But it wasn't an earthquake, it was power, ancient and primal, rising from the depths where Lyra's ancestors had buried their gifts to survive the purges. In the pit, Lyra pressed her palms flat against the damp earth, feeling the magic flow through her like lightning through water. She'd never felt anything like this before. Her grandmother had only taught her healing, only warned her about the silver light that could mend wounds. But this was something deeper, something that had slept in her bloodline for generations, waiting for desperate need to awaken it. The voices of her ancestors seemed to whisper through the stone. "We were more than healers, daughter. We commanded the very earth itself, before they hunted us, before we had to hide." She'd never understood. Never dared to explore beyond the simple healing touch her grandmother had shown her. Until now. Until they'd chained her mate and threatened to take his head at dawn. "No more hiding," Lyra whispered. The words felt like an oath, like breaking chains she'd worn her entire life. The ground beneath her began to glow with soft silver light, the same light that had burned away the poison in Theron's wounds. But this time, it didn't stay contained in her palms. It spread, seeping into cracks in the earth, following roots and stone, growing stronger with each passing moment. Above, the guards' shouting grew more frantic. "The bars! They're moving!" Lyra looked up to see the iron bars bending, warping under the pressure of earth and stone pushing up from below. The metal groaned, twisted, and finally snapped. Desperation and fury fueled her in ways mere determination never could. The incomplete bond screamed in her chest, pulling her toward Theron with magnetic force, giving her strength she didn't know she possessed, even as it threatened to tear her apart. She rose from the pit on a pillar of earth and stone, her body glowing with silver-white light, her eyes blazing with power that made the guards stumble backward in fear. "Witch!" one of them screamed. "She's a witch!" "No," Lyra said, her voice resonating with ancient authority. "I'm a healer. And you've made the mistake of hurting someone under my protection." She swept her hand outward, and the earth responded. Vines erupted from the ground, wrapping around the guards' legs, holding them immobile. Not hurting them, she was still a healer at heart, but removing the threat they posed. Lyra turned toward the village square where Theron knelt in silver chains, his skin smoking where the metal burned him. Even from here she could feel his pain through their incomplete bond, could sense his fading strength. The connection between them pulsed with urgency, demanding she reach him, demanding completion. The exertion was already taking its toll. Her vision blurred at the edges, her hands trembled, but the bond wouldn't let her stop. Not until she reached him. She took one step toward him, and a wall of guards appeared, blocking her path. 20, 30, 40 of them, all armed, all terrified but following orders. Alpha Cordovan pushed through them, his face purple with rage. "I knew it. I knew you were hiding something, you filthy Omega. You used forbidden magic." "To save a life," Lyra said, holding her ground despite the exhaustion pulling at her. "To heal, not harm. Which is more than I can say for you." Cordovan's eyes narrowed. "Careful, girl. You're in no position to make accusations." "Aren't I?" Lyra's power pulsed around her, making the guards shift nervously. Someone tried to murder a visiting dignitary with forbidden poison during a peace summit. Someone who had access to nightshade, silver dust, and wolfsbane, an ancient deadly mixture. She met Cordovan's eyes, watching for his reaction. "I wonder who benefits from peace talks failing." She was bluffing, grasping at the fragments Theron had told her in broken sentences, reaching for any leverage she could find. But the flicker of fear in Cordovan's expression, quickly masked, told her she'd struck closer to truth than she'd expected. "You know nothing," Cordovan said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "I know enough." Lyra swayed slightly, the magic drain catching up with her. Black spots danced in her vision. "Let him go, Cordovan. Let us both go, and we'll leave your territory peacefully." "Never." Cordovan drew his sword. "You're both enemies of this pack. And enemies die." He raised the blade to give the order to charge, and the forest exploded with wolves. They came from every direction, massive shapes flowing from the trees like smoke, their eyes glowing in the darkness. 50, 100, more still coming. The Blackwater guards froze in terror. At the head of the wolf pack, the largest among them stepped forward, a massive beast with fur the color of storm clouds and eyes like silver moonlight. He shifted mid-stride, becoming a man, tall and scarred, with the bearing of a warrior general. "Stand down," he commanded in a voice that carried the weight of absolute authority, "or face the wrath of the entire Northern Alliance." Cordovan went pale. "Commander Darius." "Alpha Cordovan." Darius inclined his head with cold courtesy. "We've come for our king. We've been tracking him through enemy territory for days, following the faint pull of the pack bond, giving him time to complete his mission. But our patience has ended." "You have no authority here." "We have the authority of strength," Darius said simply. He gestured, and the wolf pack moved forward as one, surrounding the Blackwater guards. "And we outnumber you 5-1. Now, release King Theron or we paint your village square red." For a long moment Cordovan stood frozen, calculation warring with pride in his expression. Then his shoulders sagged in defeat. "Release him," he said bitterly. Two guards moved toward Theron with keys, their hands shaking as they unlocked the silver chains. The moment the metal fell away, Theron surged to his feet with a roar of fury that made even the northern wolves take a step back. His eyes were pure gold, his wolf nature so close to the surface that his form seemed to flicker between man and beast. He turned that burning gaze on Cordovan, and murder blazed in his expression. "Theron, no!" Lyra ran forward, her legs nearly buckling from exhaustion, but she threw herself between him and the Blackwater Alpha. She pressed her hands to his chest, feeling the rage and pain roiling through him. "Not like this. Please." Those golden eyes focused on her face, and something shifted. The fury didn't disappear, but it banked, controlled by iron will. "Lyra." His voice was rough, inhuman. He pulled her against him with desperate strength, burying his face in her hair. "Thought I'd lost you. Heard you scream, felt your pain." "I'm here," she whispered, her knees giving out. Only his arms kept her upright as the magic exhaustion crashed over her in waves. Her entire body trembled and the world tilted dangerously. "I'm safe. We're both." Theron's hands moved over her compulsively, checking for injuries, reassuring himself she was whole. When he found the bruise on her cheek from Cordovan's blow, his entire body went rigid. "Who touched you? It doesn't matter." Lyra's vision was fading, darkness creeping in at the edges. "Who?" The word was barely human. But before she could answer, the last of her strength fled. Lyra's legs gave out completely, and she felt herself falling into darkness, the cost of breaking free finally demanding payment. The last thing she heard was Theron's anguished roar as he caught her. When consciousness returned, Lyra was moving. She became slowly aware of strong arms carrying her, of the scent of pine and winter frost that meant safety, of Theron's heartbeat steady against her ear. "Theron." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Don't try to talk," he said, his voice tight with worry. "You burned yourself out. Just rest. She forced her eyes open to see they were in the forest, the northern pack moving around them in protective formation. And there, running alongside. Kai. Relief flooded through her. Her little brother grabbed her hand, his face streaked with tears. Mama! You were glowing. The ground was shaking. And then you fell down and wouldn't wake up. I'm okay, sweetheart, Lyra managed, though her body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She looked at Theron questioningly. How did he? Darius grabbed him during the chaos, Theron explained. When the pack moved in, we made sure to secure the boy. Wasn't leaving him behind. Thank you, Lyra breathed, squeezing Kai's hand. Commander Darius fell back to walk beside them, his expression concerned. My king, we need to stop soon. The Omega needs proper rest and healing. How much farther to safe territory? We're clear of Blackwater lands now. Another mile and we'll be in neutral ground. Darius studied Lyra with concern, but she's fading fast. Whatever magic she used to break free took everything. I can hear you, Lyra muttered. And I'm fine. You collapsed, Theron said flatly. You're not fine. I will be. Just need to sleep. Then sleep. Theron adjusted her in his arms, cradling her against his chest. I've got you. I won't let you fall. And despite everything, the danger, the exhaustion, the uncertain future, Lyra felt safe enough to close her eyes and drift back into healing darkness. When she woke again, it was to firelight and the sound of the pack settling into camp. Theron had laid her on soft blankets near the fire, with Kai curled protectively against her side. The boy was asleep, his small hand clutching her shirt as if afraid she'd disappear. An elderly woman knelt beside her. Weathered brown skin marked with intricate tattoos, silver hair braided with beads, eyes that missed nothing. So, she said, placing her hands on Lyra's forehead, then her chest. You're the one who saved our foolish king. Despite her exhaustion, Lyra managed to smile. He wasn't very good at staying saved. The woman laughed, a sound like wind chimes. No, alphas rarely are. I'm Morag, chief healer of the Northern Pack. Her hands glowed with gentle warmth, easing some of Lyra's pain. When did he bite you? 3 nights ago, maybe 4 now? Time had blurred. Morag's hands stilled, her eyes widening. 3 nights? You've survived 3 nights with an incomplete claiming bite? She looked at Theron with something like wonder. Most humans die within hours, 6 at the most. The transformation tears them apart from the inside. The fact that she's lasted this long is extraordinary. Unprecedented even. Her magic, Theron said quietly, crouched on Lyra's other side. It's been fighting the transformation. And you've been bleeding magic ever since, haven't you? Morag turned back to Lyra, her expression serious. Using your healing gift to save him, then tonight that massive earth magic display? Lyra nodded weakly. Foolish, brave child. Morag's voice was gentle despite her words. You're burning yourself out from both ends. The incomplete bond is trying to transform you, trying to make you one of us so the mating can be completed. Your magic has been fighting it, keeping you human, which is why you've survived when others would have died. But that can't last forever. She looked up at Theron, her expression grave. How much did you tell her about what the bite means? Nothing. Theron's voice was harsh with self-recrimination. I was delirious with poison when I bit her. Didn't even realize what I'd done until I saw the marks on her neck the next morning. Well, she needs to understand now. Morag turned back to Lyra, taking her hand. Child, do you know what a claiming bite means for our kind? Something about bonding? Lyra's head was spinning, making it hard to focus. Making me part of the pack? It's more than bonding. It's transformation. Morag's hands continued their gentle healing work, easing the worst of Lyra's exhaustion. When one of our kind bites a human with intent to claim, even unconscious intent, it starts a process. The bite carries wolf essence, wolf magic. The human either transforms into one of us, accepting the wolf into their body and soul, or they die. There is no middle ground. Lyra's blood went cold. Die? Most humans die within hours. Morag continued grimly. The transformation is violent, agonizing. Their human bodies can't handle the change, bones breaking and reforming, organs shifting, the wolf nature trying to claw its way into existence. They go mad from the pain, or their hearts simply give out. She paused, studying Lyra with fascination. But you have magic of your own. Strong magic. Old magic. It's been fighting the transformation, creating a barrier, keeping you human. That's why you've survived 3 days when others would have died in 3 hours. But that barrier is weakening. Every time you use your power, you weaken it further. How long? Theron's voice was barely controlled, his hands clenched into fists. Hard to say. She's already defied every timeline I know. Days? A week at most? Morag shook her head. The magic exhaustion from tonight's display is speeding things up. Eventually, those barriers will fail completely. And then? Then she either transforms and lives, or her body tears itself apart trying and she dies. Morag's expression was deeply sympathetic. I'm sorry, child. This isn't fair to you. You saved our king's life, and he's condemned you without meaning to. Lyra looked at Theron, saw the agony in his amber eyes. He'd turned away, his shoulders rigid with guilt, unable to meet her gaze. Can you help her? Kai's voice was small, frightened. He'd woken during the conversation, and now he clutched Lyra's hand. Please? She's all I have. Morag's expression softened as she looked at the 7-year-old boy. There is a ritual. Ancient, dangerous, but possible. We can try to force the transformation, guide it, make it more survivable. Give her magic something to work with instead of against. What are the chances? Lyra asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Honestly? Morag hesitated, clearly weighing whether to soften the truth. Then she sighed. Without the ritual, you have perhaps a 1 in 20 chance of surviving the natural transformation. Your body will fight itself. Your magic will battle the wolf, and most likely both will destroy you in the process. And with the ritual? With the ritual and the pack's strength to draw on, guidance from those who've walked this path before, maybe 1 in 5, 1 in 4 if you're lucky. Morag squeezed her hand. I won't lie to you, child. Those are still terrible odds, but they're better than certain death. The words hung heavy in the air. Lyra felt Kai's hand tightening around hers, felt Theron's anguish through the incomplete bond that connected them. There's something else, Morag continued, studying Lyra more intently. Something that might help. May I see your hands? Confused, Lyra held out her hands. They were still faintly glowing with residual silver light from breaking out of the holding cell, the luminescence pulsing gently beneath her skin. Morag's eyes widened. Oh, this changes everything. What? Theron demanded, moving closer. She's not just a healer. Look at her hands, the color of her magic, the way it flows. Morag turned Lyra's palms up, revealing the silver-white glow that seemed to contain tiny stars. That's moon magic. Old magic, from before the purges. The magic of the first shifters. I don't understand, Lyra said. The first shifters weren't born as wolves, child. They were humans. Humans with magic that connected them to the natural world. Healers. Everyone who learned to take animal form because their magic made them flexible, adaptable. Morag's voice grew excited, hopeful. Your magic isn't fighting the transformation because it's rejecting it. It's fighting because it doesn't know how to help. It's trying to protect you, but it doesn't understand that transformation isn't death. It's change. If we can teach your magic, guide it, show it how to work with the wolf instead of against it. Then what? Theron asked urgently. Then her chances go from 1 in 5 to much better. Maybe even odds. Or better. Morag cut herself off, clearly trying not to promise too much. I don't want to give false hope. The ritual will still be dangerous, still be painful. But this moon magic, it's exactly what she needs. It's like her ancestors left her the key, and she just needs to learn how to turn it. Relief flooded Lyra so intensely it made her dizzy. Not certainty, but hope. Real, tangible hope. So the ritual, she began, will be different than I initially planned, more complex, but potentially much more effective. Morag was already standing, calling orders to other pack members. We'll need a full moon circle. Every wolf who can spare strength. All the old herbs. And you, my king. You'll be at the center with her. Why me? Theron asked, though he was already moving closer to Lyra. Because you're her mate. The bond between you is what's causing this transformation, but it's also what will save her. Morag met his eyes seriously. When the transformation begins, when the pain becomes unbearable and she wants to give up, she'll need an anchor. Something to hold on to. A reason to keep fighting. You're that anchor. Theron nodded, his jaw set with determination. Whatever she needs. Whatever it takes. Kai tugged on Morag's sleeve. Can I stay with her? I don't want her to be scared. Morag knelt before the boy. The ritual will be intense to watch, child. Frightening even. Are you sure? She's my sister. Kai's voice was firm despite the tears in his eyes. If she's scared, I want her to see me. So she knows she's not alone. You're a brave one. Morag ruffled his hair gently. You can stay close, just outside the circle. That way, she'll see you the whole time. Within an hour, everything was ready. The northern pack had drawn a circle in the clearing using crushed moonstone and dried herbs. Wolfsbane for strength, yarrow for healing, sage for purification. Ancient symbols marked the perimeter, glowing faintly in the darkness. The pack stood around the circle's edge, 30 strong, all in human form. The full moon hung directly overhead, its light seeming to concentrate within the sacred space. Lyra stood at the center with Theron, feeling the power building around them like a gathering storm. The air itself seemed to hum with magic. Kai watched from just outside the circle, held securely in Commander Darius's arms, his small face determined despite his fear. Morag began to chant in a language that sounded like wind through ancient trees, like water over stone worn smooth by time. The pack joined in, their voices creating a harmony that made Lyra's bones vibrate, that seemed to resonate with something deep inside her. The silver light in her hands began to grow, spreading up her arms like living vines, across her chest, down her legs. It didn't hurt. Not yet. It felt warm, comforting, like being wrapped in moonlight and starshine. Listen to me carefully, Morag instructed, her voice cutting through the chanting. When the change begins, it will hurt. Your instinct will be to fight it, to resist. But you must do the opposite. Don't fight the transformation. Flow with it. Let your magic guide the change instead of battling it. You're not becoming something other than yourself. You're becoming what you were always meant to be. Lyra nodded, trying to calm her racing heart. Theron's hands settled on her shoulders, grounding her, keeping her connected to herself and to him. Ready? He asked softly. No, she admitted, but let's do it anyway. The chanting grew louder, more intense. The moonlight seemed to pour down into the circle, focusing on Lyra until she glowed like a silver flame. The warmth spread through her completely, filling every cell, every fiber of her being. And then, the pain hit. It was like being torn apart from the inside, like every bone in her body was breaking at once. Her skeleton felt like it was being reshaped by invisible hands, crushed and reformed into something new. Her muscles screamed in agony, stretching and tearing and rebuilding. Her skin felt too tight, too small for what was trying to emerge from within. Lyra screamed, the sound raw and primal. "Stay with me," Theron commanded, his voice cutting through the pain like a lifeline. His arms wrapped around her from behind, holding her upright as her legs buckled. "Lyra, listen to my voice. Focus on my heartbeat. You're not alone in this." "It hurts," she gasped, tears streaming down her face. "Gods, it hurts so much." I know, love. But you're strong. You're the strongest person I've ever met." Theron's voice was steady, unwavering. "Feel my heartbeat. Match your breathing to mine. Let the pain wash through you, but don't let it break you." Lyra pressed back against his chest, trying to focus on the steady thump, thump, thump of his heart rather than the agony consuming her. The pack's chanting wrapped around her like a cocoon of sound, supporting her, lending her strength. Her magic surged in response. But this time, guided by Morag's words, supported by the pack's energy, anchored by Theron's presence, it didn't fight. It reached out to the transformation, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. She felt the two forces touch, felt them begin to flow together instead of tearing her apart. The pain didn't stop, but it changed, became purposeful rather than destructive. Her magic was learning, adapting, guiding the transformation instead of resisting it. "That's it," Morag called out, triumph in her voice. "She's doing it. The magic is accepting the change. Keep the chant steady." Lyra's vision blurred, shifted. Suddenly she could see heat signatures, Theron blazing bright behind her, each pack member a point of warmth around the circle, even small Kai glowing with life force. She could smell individual scents from pack members yards away, Darius's leather and steel, Morag's herbs and smoke, Kai's familiar scent of sunshine and childhood. Her hearing sharpened until she could distinguish 30 different heartbeats, could hear the whisper of wind through fur and the scrape of claws on stone. Her body convulsed. Bones cracked and reformed with sounds that should have made her faint. Fur sprouted along her arms, her legs, silver white and gleaming. She felt her face elongating, her teeth sharpening, her spine restructuring. And through it all, Theron held her. His scent, his heartbeat, his steady presence. They were the only things keeping her sane, keeping her grounded in who she was even as her body became something new. "Almost there," he whispered against her ear, his voice rough with emotion. "Almost there, my brave Omega. Just a little more. I can see the wolf in you. She's beautiful. Just let her out." One final surge of agony, a sensation like her entire being was turning inside out. And suddenly, it was over. Lyra collapsed, but instead of hitting the ground on 2 legs, she landed on 4. Paws. She had paws. Large, soft-padded, tipped with silver claws. She tried to stand, wobbled, found her balance on legs that bent differently than human legs. And she was looking up at Theron from much lower than before, seeing him from a wolf's perspective. "Oh my gods," she thought, and was shocked to hear the thought echo through what she now realized was a pack bond, a mental connection linking her to every wolf present. "She did it!" someone shouted, the voice filled with joy and wonder. The pack erupted in celebration, howls rising to the moon in a chorus of triumph. Lyra stood on shaking legs, trying to adjust to her new body. 4 legs instead of 2. A tail that moved with her emotions. Fur, silver white, she realized with wonder, the exact color of her healing magic. She was smaller than most of the wolves, but sleek and strong. Theron knelt before her, and she saw tears shining in his amber eyes, tears he didn't try to hide. "Lyra, can you understand me?" She nodded, a very human gesture that looked strange on her wolf form, but worked. "Can you hear the pack bond? Feel all of us?" She nodded again, overwhelmed by the sudden awareness of 30 other minds brushing against hers. Not invasive, but present. A constant low hum of connection. "Can you shift back?" Lyra concentrated, reaching for that place inside where transformation lived. It took several tries. The wolf didn't want to let go, wanting to run and play and explore this new body. But finally, she felt herself changing again, bones reshaping, fur receding. The transition was smoother this time, less painful, like her body was learning the pathways between forms. When it was done, she was human again, naked and exhausted, but alive, whole, transformed. Theron immediately wrapped his cloak around her, pulling her into his arms. "You did it," he breathed, his voice breaking with emotion. "You actually did it. You survived." "Kai!" Lyra suddenly remembered, panic flooding through her. "Where's Mama?" Kai barreled into the circle, breaking free from Darius's hold, throwing himself at his sister. "You were a wolf. A real wolf. And you were so pretty, all silver and glowing." Lyra held him tight, tears streaming down her face. "I remember you," she whispered, pressing her face to his hair. "During the transformation, even when I was wolf, I remembered you. You were right there in my heart the whole time." "Told you she wouldn't forget," Theron said quietly, his hand gentle on Lyra's back. Morag approached, her weathered face split in a huge smile. "I've never seen such a smooth transformation in all my years. Your moon magic made all the difference, child. It learned to guide the change, to shape it. You're one of us now, truly one of us, not just transformed, but reborn." "What does that mean?" Lyra asked, still trying to process everything. "It means your pack," Commander Darius said, stepping forward with respect clear in his voice. "Northern pack. Under the protection of King Theron himself, no one can harm you now." "It means you're home," Theron corrected softly, pulling both Lyra and Kai into his embrace. "Both of you. You're home." Lyra looked around at the celebrating wolves, at Kai's excited face, at Theron's gentle smile. She'd survived. Against terrible odds, against pain that should have destroyed her, against a transformation that killed most humans, she'd survived. But as the exhaustion from the transformation began to drag at her like an undertow, one final question nagged at her mind. "The bond," she said, looking up at Theron. "Is it complete now?" "No." His expression grew troubled, complicated. "The transformation was necessary. You had to become wolf for the bond to be stable. But there's one more step. One that can only happen when you're ready, when you choose it freely with full knowledge of what it means." "What step?" Theron's gaze dropped to her neck, to the faded marks where he'd bitten her that first night. "The claiming bite must be reciprocated. You must mark me as I marked you. Only then will the bond be complete, the transformation fully stable, our souls truly joined. And if I don't? Then you'll be wolf, but unbonded, free to choose another mate, to forge your own path among the pack." His voice was carefully neutral, but she could see the fear beneath. "I won't force you, Lyra. I've taken too much from you already. Your mortality, your humanity, your choice. I won't take your freedom too." Lyra studied his face, reading the terror hidden beneath his careful control. He thought she might refuse, thought she might reject him now that she understood the full cost of being his mate. "Ask me again," she said softly. "Tomorrow, when I'm not exhausted from transforming and can think clearly. Ask me properly, and I'll give you my answer." Relief and hope flickered in his expression. "Tomorrow, then." Morag cleared her throat. For now, the girl needs rest. The transformation took everything she had, and then some. Darius, organize the camp for the night. Everyone else, give them space and privacy. The pack dispersed efficiently, setting up tents and organizing watches with military precision. Theron carried Lyra to a shelter someone had prepared, a tent with warm furs and soft blankets. Kai trailed along, refusing to leave his sister's side for even a moment. As Lyra drifted towards sleep, wrapped in warm blankets with her brother curled against her side, she felt Theron's hand find hers in the darkness. "Thank you," he whispered, "for surviving, for being so damn stubborn and strong, for not giving up." "Thank you for catching me," she whispered back, "every time I fell, for being my anchor when I needed one most." Tomorrow would bring difficult questions, permanent choices, decisions that would shape the rest of her life. But tonight, she was alive, she was whole, and she was finally, truly free from the threat of death. That was enough. For now, that was more than enough. Lyra woke to sunlight filtering through the tent canvas and the sound of the northern pack going about their morning routines. Her body ached everywhere. Muscles sore from the transformation, bones feeling somehow different in ways she couldn't quite name. But it was a good ache. The ache of something accomplished, not destroyed. The ache of becoming rather than breaking. Kai was still pressed against her side, snoring softly with the abandon of childhood. And Theron dash. Theron sat in the corner of the tent, clearly having kept watch all night despite his own exhaustion. His amber eyes tracked her as she stirred, warm with concern and something deeper. Something that made her breath catch. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly. Like I was torn apart and put back together by someone who'd never done it before. Lyra sat up slowly, testing her new body. Everything felt slightly different. Sharper, stronger, more alive. Her senses were overwhelming. She could hear conversations from tents yards away, smell breakfast cooking, feel the morning breeze against her skin with heightened sensitivity. But good. Strange, but good. The first shift is always hardest. Your body is still learning the pathways between forms. Theron rose, moving to kneel beside her bedroll. "It gets easier with practice." Lyra flexed her hands, half expecting to see fur or claws, but they were perfectly human. "Can I transform whenever I want?" "With practice, yes. Right now, you're probably unstable. Strong emotions or stress might trigger the change accidentally. Fear, anger, even passion." His lips quirked slightly. "But in time, you'll have complete control. It will become as natural as breathing." "How much time?" "Weeks, maybe months." Theron reached out, then hesitated, his hand hovering near hers. "Lyra, about what I did to you. About condemning you to this." "You saved my life," she interrupted, taking his hand in hers. "Twice. Once in the forest, when you could have just let me die trying to heal you. And again, by giving me a reason to survive the transformation, because I couldn't leave Kai alone, and I couldn't leave you. I damned you. Took your humanity, your mortal life, your choice in what you would become." "No." Lyra squeezed his hand. "You gave me a choice I never had before. Freedom from a pack that despised me, power that I don't have to hide, a place where my magic is celebrated instead of feared." She smiled. "Though I'll admit, I didn't expect the wolf thing. That was a surprise. That pulled a reluctant smile from him. A pleasant surprise, I hope? Ask me after I managed to shift without help. She laughed, then sobered. You promised to ask me something today. Theron's expression grew serious. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object wrapped in soft cloth. I did. But first, I need you to understand what you'd be accepting. He unwrapped the cloth to reveal a silver ring, beautifully crafted, etched with intricate wolves running around the band. The metalwork was exquisite, each wolf unique, their forms flowing into one another in an endless chase under a full moon. In the northern packs, we don't force bonds, Theron explained, his voice soft but serious. We choose them. When one of our kind finds their mate, the person who makes their wolf sing, who completes them, we offer this, a promise ring. If accepted, we complete the bond with the reciprocal claiming bite. If refused, he swallowed hard. If refused, we accept the rejection and move on. The unbonded wolf lives with an ache in their soul, but they survive. But the bond, Lyra said, remembering Morag's words. You said I'd be unstable without completing it. You'd be unstable for a time, a few weeks, maybe a month. Your wolf would be confused, restless, but it would settle eventually. The words clearly cost him. You'd live a full life, just without me. You could come north with us, find another mate among the pack if you chose. Someone who didn't trap you into this life. Someone you could choose freely without coercion or death hanging over your head. Lyra studied the ring, then his face. And what do you want? I want you. The words were raw, honest, stripped of any artifice. I want to complete the bond, to mark you and be marked by you. I want to spend my life with you, show you everything my world has to offer, protect you and Kai with everything I am. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep holding you every night. I want to teach you to hunt as wolf, to run under the moon, to know the joy of the pack. He took a shaky breath. But more than all of that, I want you to be happy. And if that means letting you go, if that means living with this ache in my chest for the rest of my days, then that's what I'll do. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes at the sincerity in his voice. Through their incomplete bond, she could feel his emotions, the desperate hope warring with resignation, the love fighting with the belief that she deserved better than him. I have a question for you first, she said. Anything. That first night, when you bit me, when you claimed me even through the delirium and poison, did you mean it? Or was it just the wolf acting on instinct? Theron's eyes darkened, intensified. I meant it. Every part of it. I was poisoned, dying, barely clinging to consciousness. But my wolf knew. The moment you touched me, the moment your magic poured into my veins and burned away the poison, my wolf recognized you. Everything in me screamed mine, not as possession, but as recognition, as coming home. And now? Without the poison, without the desperation, with time to actually know me, do you still feel that way? Now it's even stronger. His hand came up to cup her face with infinite gentleness. Now I know your courage, how you risked everything to save a stranger, your compassion, how you healed me even knowing it would expose your magic, your strength, how you survived transformation against impossible odds, your heart, how you love your brother with everything you are. His thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Now I've watched you protect your brother with fierce devotion, seen you stand up to an alpha who could have killed you, witnessed you accept becoming something you never asked to be with grace and bravery. And every part of me, man and wolf, wants you as mine. Good. Lyra leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, soft and gentle and full of promise. Because I want that too. Theron went very still, as if afraid to believe. You're accepting? I'm accepting. She pulled back to meet his eyes directly, wanting him to see the truth in hers. I want the bond, Theron. I want to be yours, and I want you to be mine. Not because I'm trapped. Not because I have no choice. Not because I'm grateful you saved me. But because in just a few days you've shown me more care and protection and respect than I received in my entire life before. Because you make me feel safe and powerful at the same time. Because you see my strength instead of my weakness, my gifts instead of my flaws. Because when I look at you, I see home. His hands shook as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, the silver warming against her skin as if recognizing its mate. Through the incomplete bond, she felt his overwhelming joy, his relief, his love crashing over her in waves. There's one more thing you need to understand, Theron said, his voice rough with emotion. The claiming bite, it's not like before. Before you were unconscious, unaware. This time you'll be fully present, choosing it. It will hurt, but not like the transformation, and it will bind us permanently. He paused, making sure she was listening. Our emotions, our lives, our very souls will be intertwined. You'll feel what I feel, know what I know. There will be privacy within the bond. We'll learn to shield our thoughts. But we'll always be connected, always aware of each other. If I'm in danger, you'll know. If you're in pain, I'll feel it. We'll be two halves of one whole. That sounds... Lyra searched for the right word. Intense. It is. Especially at first. Some find it overwhelming. His eyes searched hers. Are you certain? And it must be reciprocated, she said, remembering. I mark you as you mark me. Yes. Equal claim, equal bond. That's how it works among our kind. Theron's voice dropped lower. I want you to claim me as yours, as I claim you as mine. I want everyone to see your mark on my neck and know that I belong to you. Will you? Instead of answering with words, Lyra pulled him down for another kiss, deeper this time, pouring all her certainty and love and choice into it. She felt his control snap, felt him pull her against him with desperate need tempered by careful restraint. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she whispered against his lips, yes. 1,000 times, yes. A sound outside the tent made them freeze. Then Kai's voice, deliberately loud and long-suffering. Are you done being mushy yet? Commander Darius says we need to do a ceremony, and Morag is making special cakes. And I'm really hungry. Theron laughed, the sound surprised and genuine and full of joy. We're done, little one. Finally, can I come in? Give us 1 minute to get dressed, Lyra called, looking down and realizing she was still wearing only Theron's cloak. She felt her face heat. Theron handed her clothes someone had left. Simple but well-made, soft leather pants and a tunic in northern style. As she dressed, she caught him watching her with an expression that made heat pool in her belly. Tonight, he promised, his voice rough. After the ceremony. I'll show you everything the bond can be. Lyra shivered with anticipation. I'll hold you to that. The ceremony was both simple and profound, carrying the weight of ancient tradition. The entire northern pack gathered in a circle under the midday sun, with Theron and Lyra at the center. They stood on ground that had been marked with symbols in crushed herbs and flowers, marks of mating, of joining, of two becoming one. Morag stood as witness, her voice carrying clearly in the mountain air. We gather to witness a mating bond, she announced, her tone formal but warm. Between Theron, king of the Northern Alliance and alpha of the Mountain Pack, and Lyra, Omega, of old magic and newest member of our family. Do both come freely to this bond, with full knowledge and willing hearts? I do, Theron said, his voice strong and clear. I do, Lyra echoed, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Then let all witness that this bond is chosen, not forced. That these two come together as equals, each claiming the other, each giving themselves freely. Morag smiled. Let the claiming begin. Theron turned to Lyra, his eyes pure gold, his wolf barely contained beneath his skin. She could feel his desire, his love, his need through the incomplete bond. Could sense how much control it was taking him to move slowly, gently, when everything in him wanted to claim her immediately. Are you ready? He asked, his voice for her alone. She tilted her head, baring her neck in the ultimate gesture of trust for a wolf, offering the most vulnerable part of herself. I'm ready. He pulled her close, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other around her waist. His face pressed against her throat, and she felt him inhale deeply, breathing in her scent as if memorizing it. Mine, he whispered against her skin. My mate, my Omega, my queen, my heart. When his teeth sank into her mating gland, the spot where neck met shoulder, rich with nerves and scent, the pain was sharp but brief, almost immediately overwhelmed by sensation. Heat and pleasure and connection flooded through her like lightning through water, like fire through dry grass. Lyra gasped as she felt Theron's emotions pouring into her through the bond, no longer muted or incomplete, but full force, overwhelming. His love, fierce and absolute and all-consuming, his joy at her acceptance, bright and pure as sunlight, his determination to protect her forever, solid as stone, his desire for her, hot and wanting, his wolf's possessive satisfaction at finally marking his mate properly. And beneath it all, the bedrock certainty that she was his and he was hers, that they belonged together, that this was right. Mine, he growled against her neck, the word vibrating through her. My mate, now and always. When he released her, blood marked his lips, and his eyes were blazing with triumph and possessive satisfaction and overwhelming love. Now you, Morag prompted gently, complete the bond, child. Claim what's yours. Lyra had never bitten anyone in her life, had never even considered it. But her wolf rose eagerly to the surface, knowing exactly what to do, guiding her movements. Theron bared his throat for her, and she understood in that moment what this meant. An alpha never bared his throat, never showed vulnerability, never submitted. But he was offering her everything, trusting her completely. Lyra rose on her toes, her hands on his shoulders for balance. She felt her teeth sharpen, felt the wolf lend her strength. When she bit down on his mating gland, tasting copper and salt and something uniquely him, the bond between them exploded outward. She felt everything, every emotion he'd hidden, every thought, every memory flooding into her awareness. His childhood as a prince, trained from birth for leadership. His father's death when he was barely 18, the weight of a kingdom falling on shoulders too young. The loneliness of power, of always having to be strong, of never being able to show weakness. The betrayal at the peace summit. The poison burning through his veins, the certainty that he was dying alone in enemy territory, and then, her. Appearing like a miracle, like an answer to a prayer he hadn't known he was praying, her touch, her magic, her compassion burning away the poison and marking his soul in ways that went deeper than any wound. Mine, her wolf purred with deep satisfaction. My mate, my alpha, my king, my heart. When she released him, The bond snapped into place like a lock finding its key, like two halves of a whole finally joining. Suddenly she could feel him not just emotionally, but spiritually. Could sense his presence even with her eyes closed. Could feel his emotions like they were her own. Could hear his thoughts brushing against her mind like a caress. And he could feel her too. She sensed his wonder, his joy, his overwhelming love as he experienced her emotions for the first time without barriers. Complete, Morag declared, her voice ringing with joy and satisfaction. The bond is sealed. What the moon has joined, let none separate. What two hearts have chosen, let none divide. May you run together under the moon, hunt together in the forest, and love together for all your days. The pack erupted in celebration, howls rising to the sky in a chorus of approval and joy. The sound was primal, beautiful, welcoming, and Lyra felt herself wanting to join them, felt her wolf wanting to throw back her head and howl her happiness. Theron pulled her into his arms, kissing her with fierce possession and tender reverence all at once. Through the bond, she felt his overwhelming love, his relief that she'd chosen him, his joy that she was truly his now. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the pack pressed forward with congratulations. Darius clapped Theron on the shoulder with a grin. Other wolves touched Lyra gently, welcoming her officially into the pack, into the family. She could feel their emotions now through the pack bond: acceptance, joy, curiosity, affection. It was overwhelming and wonderful all at once. And Kai pushed through the crowd and launched himself at both of them, hugging them tight. "Does this mean you're my brother now?" he asked Theron seriously. "For real?" Theron knelt to the boy's level, his expression solemn. "If you'll have me, yes. I'll be your brother, and I promise to protect you and Lyra with everything I am. Can you teach me to make shadow wolves? And hunt? And fight with swords?" "Every day, if you want. Though we'll start with the shadow wolves and work our way up to swords." Theron's lips twitched. "You're a bit young for blade work yet." "I'm 7. "That's old enough," Kai protested. "We'll see what your sister says." Theron glanced at Lyra with amusement dancing in his eyes. "I say shadow wolves for now," Lyra said, ruffling Kai's hair. "We'll discuss the rest when you're older." Kai grinned anyway. "Then yes, you can be my brother." The simple acceptance, the easy way Kai welcomed Theron into their tiny family, made something warm unfold in Lyra's chest. This was family. Real family. Chosen and true. Bound not by blood but by love. Morag approached with a knowing smile. "How does the bond feel?" "Like..." Lyra searched for words. "Like I was incomplete before and didn't even know it. Like he's part of me now, and I'm part of him. I can feel him even when I'm not touching him. It's strange and wonderful and a bit overwhelming." "That's exactly what it is." Morag patted her hand. "You'll adjust. The first few days are the most intense. You'll feel everything he feels, sense every emotion. It will be hard to tell where you end and he begins. Over time, you'll learn to give each other privacy within the bond, to shield your thoughts when needed. But you'll always be connected, always aware of each other." "I can feel him right now," Lyra marveled. "His happiness, his love, his..." She blushed. "Other feelings." Theron's eyes darkened with heat. "Perhaps we should..." "Not yet," Morag interrupted firmly, though her eyes twinkled. "First, we travel. We're still in neutral territory, barely a day from Blackwater lands. Your enemies know you survived, know you have a mate now. We need to get north of the borderlands, into our own territory, before we're truly safe." Darius nodded agreement. "The king's life has been threatened once already. Until we discover who was behind the poisoning, he remains at risk. And now his mate as well. Then we move, Theron said, his protective instincts flaring through the bond. I won't risk Lyra or Kai. Within the hour, Darius confirmed, already moving to organize the pack. The camp was packed with impressive efficiency, the northern wolves working together with the coordination of long practice. Within an hour, they were moving north, traveling in a loose formation with scouts ranging ahead and behind, guards positioned to protect the most vulnerable, including Lyra, Kai, and several Omega healers. Lyra walked beside Theron, Kai between them holding both their hands, feeling like she was in a dream. Just 5 days ago, she'd been a powerless Omega in a cruel pack, hiding her magic and fearing for her brother's life. Now she was mated to a king, part of a pack that celebrated her gifts rather than fearing them. She could transform into a wolf whenever she chose. She had a mate who looked at her like she hung the moon and stars. "What are you thinking?" Theron asked softly, the bond letting him sense her churning emotions even if he couldn't read her exact thoughts. "That my life has changed so completely I barely recognize it. Do you regret it?" There was vulnerability in the question, in his voice. "Not even a little bit." She squeezed his hand. "But I'm scared too. Of what comes next. Of whether I'll be good enough for—" "Stop." Theron halted their walk, turning to face her fully. Around them, the pack flowed past, giving them space. "You are more than good enough. You're perfect. I'm not. You are. To me, to Kai, to this pack." He cupped her face in both hands, his touch gentle despite his intensity. "You saved my life when you had every reason to walk away. You faced down a cruel alpha to protect your brother. You survived a transformation that kills most humans. You chose me when I gave you every reason not to. And anyone who says you're not good enough will answer to me." Through the bond, Lyra felt the absolute truth of his words. He truly believed she was perfect, flaws and all. Believed she was worthy of being queen, of being his mate, of being loved. "I love you," she blurted, the words escaping before she could stop them. Theron's entire expression transformed, becoming radiant. "I love you too. Have since that first night, I think. When you saved my life without hesitation, without knowing who I was or what I could offer. You saw me dying and chose compassion over safety. Chose to help a stranger when it would have been smarter to walk away. I'm a healer. It's what I do." "No." His thumb brushed her cheek with infinite gentleness. "It's who you are. Your nature, your soul, your heart. And it's one of the 1,000 reasons I love you." They might have kissed again. The bond was singing between them, pulling them together, but Kai tugged on both their hands. "Are we almost there?" he asked plaintively. "My feet hurt, and I'm hungry, and it's really hot." Theron laughed and scooped the boy onto his shoulders in one smooth motion. "We're about halfway through today's journey. Think you can make it up here?" "Yes." Kai grabbed onto Theron's hair for balance, his earlier complaints forgotten. "I'm so tall. I can see everything. Lyra, look how tall I am." "I see, sweetheart." Lyra smiled up at her brother, her heart full. "You're taller than everyone." Watching them together, her mate and her brother, laughing and comfortable with each other, Lyra felt something settle deep in her chest. This was right. This was meant to be. This was home. They traveled for 3 more days, moving steadily north through increasingly wild and beautiful country. The forests grew thicker, the mountains taller and more dramatic. The air turned crisp and cold even in late summer, smelling of pine and snow and wild things. The landscape changed from the gentle rolling hills of Blackwater territory to something more rugged, more primal. And throughout it all, Lyra learned what it meant to be bonded. She felt Theron's presence constantly, a warm comfort in the back of her mind like a steady heartbeat. His love for her was a steady pulse, unwavering and absolute. When he was amused by something Kai said, she felt laughter bubbling up in her own chest. When he was concerned about potential threats, she felt his protective instincts flare to life. When he looked at her, she felt his desire like heat against her skin. And he felt her too. Her wonder at the changing landscape, her growing confidence as she learned to be Wolf, learning to shift more easily each time she tried. Her deep contentment at being accepted, at being free, at being loved. On the second night of travel, he showed her how to hunt as a wolf. She shifted, much more easily now, the transformation taking only moments, and followed him into the forest. He taught her to track by scent, to move silently through undergrowth, to work with the pack to corner prey. When she caught her first rabbit, the pack celebrated with her, howling their approval, and Theron nuzzled her wolf form with pride, his emotions flooding through the bond, proud, delighted, loving. On the third night, when they finally had privacy in their tent, he showed her what it meant to be his mate in truth. The bond made their joining intense beyond description. Every touch was magnified, every sensation shared between them through their connection. When she felt pleasure, he felt it too, and his pleasure fed back into hers, creating a feedback loop that left them both gasping and overwhelmed and complete. Afterwards, wrapped in his arms beneath furs, Lyra traced the claiming mark on his neck. The bite she'd given him, now healed into a permanent silver scar. "Is it always like this?" she asked, still breathing hard. "No. The bond will settle somewhat over time. The intensity will ease to something more manageable." His hand traced patterns on her bare shoulder, his touch gentle and possessive at once. "But it will always be powerful. Always be more than it would be without the bond." "I'm not complaining." She pressed closer to his warmth. "I like feeling you with me. Even when it's overwhelming, I like knowing you're there." "Good." He kissed her temple, her cheek, her lips. "Because you're stuck with me now." "Forever?" "Forever and beyond." On the morning of the fourth day since the claiming ceremony, they crested a ridge and Theron stopped, pointing ahead with barely contained pride. "Look." Lyra caught her breath. Spread before them was a valley of impossible, breathtaking beauty. A river wound through the center, its waters so clear she could see the stones at the bottom even from this distance. Dense forests flanked the water, trees so tall they seemed to touch the sky. Mountains rose on all sides like protective walls, their peaks snow-capped and majestic against the blue sky. And nestled in the valley's heart was a settlement. Dozens of buildings built from wood and stone, smoke rising from chimneys, people and wolves moving between structures in easy harmony. "The Northern Hold," Theron said quietly, his voice full of love for his home. "My kingdom, our home now." "It's beautiful," Lyra breathed, unable to find words adequate to describe what she was seeing. "Come." He took her hand, threading their fingers together. "Let me introduce you to your people." As they descended into the valley, wolves began to notice their arrival. Word spread quickly. The king had returned, and he'd brought his mate. By the time they reached the hold proper, hundreds had gathered to see. Lyra felt her anxiety spike, old fears rising. So many people, all watching her, judging her. "You're not in Blackwater anymore," Theron's voice whispered through the bond. "They're not going to hurt you. They're going to love you, because I love you, and because you're worthy of love." His certainty steadied her, gave her courage. "My people." Theron's voice carried easily across the crowd, strong and clear and full of joy. "I present Lyra, my mate and your queen. She saved my life when I was poisoned and left for dead. She healed me with magic the old healers would recognize. She survived transformation to become one of us. She and her brother Kai are now under the protection of the Northern Alliance, part of our pack, part of our family. Anyone who threatens them threatens me. The crowd erupted in cheers and howls. Lyra saw acceptance in their eyes, not judgment. Saw wolves of all ranks, alphas, betas, omegas, bowing their heads in respect and welcome. They accept you, Theron murmured in her ear, his pride in her flowing through the bond. Not because I command it, but because they see your strength, your courage, your heart. A woman pushed through the crowd, tall and regal, with silver-streaked hair and Theron's same golden eyes. She moved with the easy confidence of someone who'd once held power and still commanded respect. "Mother," Theron said warmly, stepping forward to embrace her. Lyra's breath caught. During their journey, Theron had mentioned his mother Elena, the former queen who'd stepped down after his father's death, but remained as an advisor. He'd spoken of her with love and respect, had worried about whether she'd approve of his sudden mating. Now, meeting her, Lyra felt a spike of nervousness. "My son." Elena held him tight for a long moment, then pulled back to study him. "When we heard about the attack, about the poison, we feared the worst." Her voice broke slightly. "Thank the gods you survived." "Only because of her." Theron turned to Lyra, his hand finding hers. "Mother, this is Lyra, my mate. She saved my life." Elena turned her assessing gaze to Lyra, and for a moment Lyra felt like she was being evaluated, measured, judged. Then Elena's expression softened into a warm smile. "She has moon magic," Elena said, wonder in her voice. "I can see it in her eyes, feel it in her presence. The silver light of the old healers." She took Lyra's hands in hers, her grip firm and welcoming. "Welcome, daughter. Welcome to our family. Thank you for saving my son's life, for giving him back to us." The simple acceptance, the warmth in Elena's eyes, brought tears to Lyra's own. "Thank you for welcoming me." "And who is this?" Elena knelt before Kai, her expression gentling even further. "I'm Kai," he said with 7-year-old seriousness. "I'm Lyra's brother. And Theron's teaching me shadow wolves and how to hunt, and someday I'm going to learn swords." "Shadow wolves?" Elena's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Theron used to make those when he was your age. He'd make them dance across the walls until I made him go to bed." "Really?" Kai's eyes went wide. "He was a kid like me?" "Hard to believe, isn't it?" Elena ruffled his hair. "Come, little one. Let me show you the children's hall while your sister and Theron settle in. We have other children your age who will be excited to meet you, and the cooks always have treats for newcomers." Kai looked to Lyra questioningly. She could see his excitement warring with uncertainty about leaving her. "Go ahead," she said, smiling. "I'll find you soon. I promise. And I'll teach you more shadow animals later," Theron added. "Maybe even a dragon, if you're good." That sealed it. Kai's face lit up. "Really? A dragon?" He turned to Elena. "Let's go. I want to meet the other kids." As Elena led Kai away, the boy chattering excitedly about dragons and shadow wolves, Theron guided Lyra through the hold. Everyone they passed greeted them warmly, bowing heads in respect, but also smiling with genuine welcome. She saw wolves in human and animal form mingling freely, working together, laughing together. Saw omegas walking with their heads high, speaking freely, clearly valued and respected. Saw children playing without fear, running between legs and getting affectionate hair ruffles rather than harsh words. "This is what pack should be," Theron said quietly, watching her take it all in. "What you never had in Blackwater. Equality, respect, family. Everyone contributes. Everyone matters. Omegas aren't lesser, they're essential. Our healers, our teachers, our peacemakers. It's wonderful, Lyra whispered, feeling tears threaten again. It's everything I never dared imagine. He led her to a large building at the valley's center, clearly the Alpha's residence, built from stone and timber, with intricate carvings decorating the beams. Inside, it was warm and comfortable, with furs and tapestries decorating the walls, a massive fireplace dominating one end, comfortable furniture arranged for both work and relaxation. Our home, Theron said, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. For as long as you want it, we can change anything you like, make it yours. It's perfect, Lyra interrupted, turning to him. She felt his anxiety through the bond, his worry that she'd find it lacking, that she'd regret choosing him. Theron, it's perfect. You're perfect. This is all more than I ever dreamed possible. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close. I want to give you everything. I want to make up for what you lost. Your mortality, your humanity, your choice. You've given me freedom, family, love, a home where I don't have to hide. She pulled back to meet his eyes. That's everything, Theron. That's more than enough. Through the bond, she felt his relief, his love, his joy. And she sent back her own emotions, her contentment, her happiness, her certainty that she'd made the right choice. Forever? He asked, echoing her question from days ago. Forever, she confirmed. Together. Always. And in that moment, surrounded by pack and family, bonded to her mate and finally free to be herself, Lyra understood what she'd been searching for her entire life. Home. Not a place, but a feeling. Not walls and a roof, but belonging and acceptance and love. She was home at last, and she would never be alone again. Snow fell soft and silent over the northern hold, blanketing everything in white. Winter had come early to the mountains, transforming the valley into a wonderland of ice and frost. Lyra stood at the window of her chambers, one hand resting protectively on the small but noticeable swell of her belly, watching wolves play in the courtyard below. Children and adults alike, their joy infectious even from a distance. She was barely 2 months pregnant, but already she could feel the life growing inside her. A gift she'd never expected. A future she'd never dared imagine. The baby was strong, healthy, growing perfectly according to Morag. And through the bond, she could feel Theron's constant awareness of their child, his protective instincts magnified tenfold. Behind her, Theron finished braiding his hair for the day's council meeting. Through their connection, she felt his contentment, his satisfaction with their life together, his joy at the baby growing in her womb. "What are you thinking?" he asked, coming to stand behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist with his hands coming to rest over hers on her belly. "That I'm happy." She leaned back against him, feeling his strength, his warmth, his love surrounding her. "That I never thought I could be this happy. That I keep waiting to wake up and discover it was all a dream." "It's real," he assured her, pressing a kiss to her temple. "And it's just the beginning." "You've changed everything, you know," Lyra said, turning in his arms to face him. "The hold is thriving. The Omega healers are flourishing under my guidance. They tell me things they were afraid to share before, healing techniques that were almost lost. I've started teaching the younglings not just healing magic, but earth magic, showing them it's not something to fear. Even the neighboring packs have requested our services, asking if our healers can teach theirs." "That's all you," Theron said, pride clear in his voice and through the bond. "You gave them permission to be themselves, to celebrate their gifts instead of hiding them. You showed them that being Omega doesn't mean being weak. And you gave me the freedom to do it. She touched his face tenderly. You gave me a place where I don't have to hide, where I can be everything I am. A knock at the door interrupted them. Kai burst in, noticeably taller than he'd been just 2 months ago, stronger, more confident. The change in him was remarkable. Good food, safety, training, and love had transformed the sickly, fearful child into a thriving boy. Lyra, Theron, Elder Morag needs you. There's a human at the southern border. He's wounded badly. Kai's face was serious, showing the maturity he was developing. She said you'd want to know because he has the same marks you told us about. The black poison marks. Lyra and Theron exchanged a look of shared concern. They'd known this wasn't over, that whoever had tried to kill Theron was still out there, still using the forbidden poison. They'd been investigating quietly for months, gathering information, following leads. Show us, Theron said, immediately moving into alpha mode. They found the young man at the southern border checkpoint, barely conscious, his body marked with those familiar black veins spreading from claw wounds. Lyra knelt beside him despite her pregnancy, her healer instincts overriding caution. The poison, she breathed, her hands already glowing with silver light. The same one that nearly killed you. Theron's expression darkened with anger and determination. Someone is still using it, still hunting, still trying to destabilize the peace between territories. Then we save him, Lyra said firmly, already channeling her magic into the wounds. Like I saved you. And then we find who's behind this and put an end to it once and for all. No more victims, no more killings in the name of preventing peace. She placed her hands on his wounds, letting her moon magic flow. The silver light pushed back the darkness, burning away the poison just as it had that first night in the forest, the night that had changed everything, that had led her here, to this life, to this love. The young man gasped as the black veins receded, his eyes flying open in shock and confusion. Who? What? Where am I? You're safe, Lyra said gently, her healer's voice calm and reassuring. You're in the northern hold. No one will hurt you here. We're going to take care of you. As they carried him to the healing house, Theron supporting most of his weight while Lyra directed the healers, Kai walked alongside them, watching everything with bright, curious eyes. Mama? He asked quietly. Are you going to save everyone who gets hurt by that poison? If I can, Lyra confirmed. That's what healers do, sweetheart. We help people. Even if they're from other packs? Even if they might be enemies? Especially then. She smiled at her brother. Because healing isn't about sides or politics or who deserves help. It's about compassion. About choosing to ease suffering wherever we find it. Theron's hand found hers, squeezing gently. Through the bond, she felt his love, his pride, his agreement with her words. As they settled the young man into the healing house, Morag taking over his care while other healers assisted, Theron pulled Lyra aside, his expression serious. History repeating itself, he murmured through the bond, his thoughts private between them. Maybe, she sent back, or maybe this is just what we do now, what we've always done. Save people, offer sanctuary, build something better than what came before. Make sure others don't suffer as we suffered. We? He questioned aloud, his lips quirking. We. She placed her hand on his chest, over his heart, over the mating scar she'd given him. Together. Always. This won't be the last, Theron said, his voice low. Whoever is behind the poison attacks, whoever is trying to prevent peace, they'll keep trying. There will be more victims, more attacks, more danger. Then we'll keep investigating, keep protecting, keep saving. Lyra met his eyes steadily. We'll find who's behind this. We'll stop them. And we'll make sure no one else has to die from that poison. That's our responsibility now. Not just to our pack, but to everyone who might be targeted. Our responsibility, he agreed. But you, his hand moved to her belly protectively. You should rest. Let others handle this. You're carrying our child. I'm pregnant, not broken, Lyra interrupted gently but firmly. And this is important. I won't let fear stop me from doing what I was meant to do. Besides, she smiled, you'll be right there with me, protecting me, just like always. Through the bond, she felt his conflict, his desire to keep her safe warring with his respect for her strength and autonomy. Finally, he nodded. Together then. But if anything threatens you or our baby, I'm pulling you out. No arguments. Agreed. She kissed him softly. Now come. We have a victim to heal and a mystery to solve. As they walked through the hold together, past wolves who greeted them warmly, past children playing, past the life they'd built together, Lyra marveled at how far she'd traveled from that terrified Omega in the forest. She'd saved a wounded stranger. He'd claimed her heart. Together, they'd survived impossible odds and built a kingdom of kindness in a world that had shown them both too much cruelty. And now, they would make sure others had the same chance at salvation she'd been given. They would hunt down whoever was creating the poison, whoever was trying to prevent peace, whoever was killing innocents. They would protect their people, their family, their home, together. Always together. It was more than she'd ever dreamed possible. It was everything.